Today on the podcast, the stock market plunges. What's going to happen next? Ukraine accepts a 30-day ceasefire. Republicans refers to trans congressman by his proper pronoun. We have audio on how that went down. And Rosie O'Donald has fled the country. That and so much more. Thanks for listening. Daily Wire is reporting on Tuesday we saw a massive stock market dump. The Dow Jones Industrial Average plunged almost 900 points. The stock market has been in a bit of a free fall over the course of the last couple of weeks and has been predicting this for a while. It turns out that when you mess with the market mechanisms, people don't like it. Investors tend to take their money out of the market and wait for things to be a little calmer, a little steadier. So investors don't like uncertainty. They like when things are they can kind of predict the future, right? With the tariffs, are we going to have tariffs? Aren't we going to have tariffs? How much are tariffs going to be? Uncertainty on the taxes, whether the president will get his extension of his tax cuts. All this uncertainty is probably the most likely to cause and the reason why we're seeing this crash. If this administration is to blame for the choppy waters, that will be quite bad, obviously. If the Dow Jones and the stock market continue to get lower and lower and we go into a recession, the sitting president is the one who's going to get blamed for it. It's just a fact. It's whether it's his fault completely or not, it's still the way it's going to go down. It's always been like this. Presidents are uncertain what to do. They start buying bonds, and they feel like they are at least going to get paid off at a certain point. While the U.S. strength is in question, other countries are ramping up efforts to revive their economies. China has unleashed more stimulus to meet its economic growth targets, and Germany's doing the exact same thing. They're spending more on infrastructure and military, so around the world, it's similar problems, but they're up in spending. If you just borrow to spend, which is what the United States has been doing for a long time, you end up with an artificial inflated economy. We see that, with the Biden administration especially. They were writing out checks. Even the first Trump administration was doing this. They were just dumping a bunch of money in the economy during COVID and afterwards. And of course, we saw inflation increase. There's also other things happening as well, and it's even a deeper issue maybe. There's a wide, spread perception that Trump's team is trying to reshape the global order in a way. He's trying to change how things are done, if you will. And of course, markets don't like that either, right? If they're unsure about tariffs, they're unsure how much money and how much involved the U.S. is going to be in the world economy. That also affects the market, the stock market, and the local economy in the U.S. So all these things combined with the way the Biden administration handled the economy, it could really set up for a spiral down unless the Trump administration moves quickly, and that means finding a landing zone on the tariffs, getting the Trump tax cuts passed and signed, getting those extended, getting that stability back in the economy. That in and of itself, just doing those two things, will greatly help the market, and will keep it this at least slow down or stop this downward spin. In other news, Ukraine has accepted a ceasefire. Al Jazeera is reporting on Tuesday, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said that Ukraine has accepted a 30-day ceasefire with Russia after critical peace talks with the United States and Saudi Arabia. Washington has, in turn, lifted its pause on military aid and intelligence sharing with the Ukrainians. After 8 hours of negotiation in the port city of Jeddah, the terms of peace were jointly signed and will be presented to Russia. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who represented Washington in Saudi Arabia, said that the ball is now in Moscow's court. So here's what we know about the deal that was actually struck. The U.S. and Ukraine released a joint statement after the talks on Tuesday. This statement says that the country has agreed to an immediate interim 30-day ceasefire, which can be extended by mutual agreement of both parties. In an X post on Tuesday, Zelensky added that the ceasefire will apply to missile, drone, and bomb attacks, not only in the Black Sea, but also along the entire front line. The joint statement added that this is subject to agreement by Russia, underlying the unusual nature of the agreement. Ceasefire deals are usually struck by between war parties, not one of the nations in conflict in a country attempting to mediate peace. So the agreement was in between the U.S. and Ukraine, not necessarily between Ukraine and Russia. So the Russians still have to approve this. They still have to go along with it. On Wednesday, Kremlin spokesperson told reporters that Russia was waiting to be briefed by the U.S. about the ceasefire proposal before it could comment on whether or not it accepted the proposed terms. The joint statement added that the U.S. will immediately lift the pause on intelligence sharing and military aid to Ukraine. So after they accepted this deal, initially Trump, after the meeting with Zelensky in the Oval Office went downhill, he cut off all aid and all intelligence sharing to the country. Now that both have accepted the deal, they're going to start sharing this again, both aid and intelligence. The statement added that the presidents of both countries, U.S. and Ukraine, have agreed on a new critical minerals deal. U.S. and Ukraine have discussed a mineral deal for weeks, which will allow the U.S. to invest in Ukrainians' mineral resources. Trump and Zelensky were expected to sign this deal during the Ukrainian leader's recent White House meeting, but the agreement was not signed. After that meeting went downhill and got very heated. Trump has repeatedly rejected the idea of U.S. offering security guarantees. It was brought up in that meeting in the Oval Office. However, the Trump administration has argued that the U.S. investment in Ukraine through the minerals deal would serve as a security guarantee, and it would. We talked about it after the meeting that took place in the Oval Office. We talked about how if the U.S. is investing in the economy of Ukraine by having this minerals deal, and we're partnering with them in that is in itself its own security guarantee. If we have U.S. personnel in Ukraine and we're mining for minerals and there's this agreement between the two countries, that does bring security in and of itself. So what happened was Zelensky wanted more than what Trump was willing to offer, and that's when the meeting started to go downhill. In a Fox News interview that aired on March 3rd, Vice President J.D. Vance said, if you want real security guarantees, if you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine again, the very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine. So J.D. Vance agrees. In a post on X, Zelensky said that the discussion in Saudi Arabia were constructive. He added that during the meeting, the team from Ukraine proposed 3 key points. Silence in the skies, with neither side firing missiles, bombs, or launching long-range drone attacks at each other. Silent at the sea, and the release of civilian and military prisoners of war, as well as Ukrainian children who were forcibly sent to Russia. Rubio also posted on X after the meeting. He said, we are one step closer to restoring durable peace for Ukraine. The ball is now in Russia's court. So we're just going to see. We're going to see if Russia wants to accept this ceasefire deal. It's definitely closer than we've ever been to ending the war. And you have to give, kudos to Donald Trump and his administration, because this would not have been happening if Joe Biden was still in office. We just have this endless push for funding Ukraine's war, and it's just endless supply of money going to Ukraine. But due to the leadership and the push by the Trump administration to end the war, we're now closer than we've ever been to that. In other news, Fox News is reporting, Republican in a congressional foreign affairs meeting, it was a subcommittee meeting where this happened, He referred to Representative Sarah McBride as Mr. McBride. And when he did that, that hearing erupted into this big argument between one of the Democratic congressmen. And it's very interesting. We got the audio right here.
From Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America, please?
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this hearing.
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
Wow. So the congressman in this foreign affairs meeting, subcommittee meeting, introduced Sarah McBride, who is a biological male, who's elected congressman, introduced him as Mr. McBride. The Democrat on the committee, Bill Keaton, from I believe he's from Massachusetts, interrupted the meeting while McBride was talking, interrupted him, and started this confrontation on why in the world you're not referring to him, or excuse me, her, as the correct pronouns. And it just got heated from there. If the Democrat Party wants to continue to tote this lie that boys can be girls, girls can be boys, they want to continue to do this, continue with it. Go ahead. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. And it's foolishness like this that makes you guys unelectable. Fact is that the majority of Americans respect people for who they are, but they're not going to be ignoring basic science. Whether you feel like it or not, when you are born a male, you are a male. When you're born a female, you're a female. You can dress like you're not, like the opposite sex. You can do that. You can have body parts cut off or added on, but you're still who you are, very down to your cells. If you're born a male, your very cells, your very makeup, your very DNA shows that you're a male. It doesn't matter how you dress or what you cut off or add on. That's what you're going to be. Kudos to this congressman for not playing along with the game. Good for him. Other news, Rosie O'Donald has left the country. Daily Wire is reporting Rosie O'Donald finally confirmed rumors that she moved out of the United States following President Donald Trump's victory, as she called out legacy media for not doing their job. In a nearly 10-minute long video posted on Tuesday on TikTok, the 62-year-old TV personality and comedian and vocal supporter of the Democrat Party said on January 15th, before Trump was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States, she and her 12-year-old daughter, Dakota, who now goes by Clay, moved to Ireland. O'Donnell said, "It's been pretty wonderful, I have to say. The people are so loving and so kind, so welcoming, and I am grateful. I'm happy. Clay is happy," she added. "I miss my other kids. I miss my friends. I miss many things about life there at home. I'm trying to find home here in the beautiful country. And when it is safe for all citizens to have equal rights there in America, that's when we will consider coming back." Rosie, you already have equal rights. Everyone does. The problem with this, what she's referring to, with the trans community and others, is they don't want equal rights. They want additional rights. That's the difference. Not equal rights, additional rights. And when you want additional rights, that's when people have problems. Because you don't want someone to be treated equally. You want people to be able to treat as if they're special and have additional rights to them. That's where the problem's at. Right now, I'm a biological male. I can't compete in women's sports. Someone who identifies as a female but is a biological male should not and cannot, thanks to the Trump administration, compete in women's sports. That's equality. You don't want equality. You want more rights and not equality. That's the difference. Without naming Trump, the former host of The View said that the move out of the United States was something she felt like she and her children needed to do. O'Donnell said that the legacy media in America have been letting us all down, have not been doing their jobs, which she said they are required to do in order to maintain a democracy. The comedian also claimed that the only place a person can get news about protests and whatnot was TikTok. So TikTok, yes, that's the place where you can get all your accurate news. Wow, yes. So here's hoping that they, and she later quoted, so here's hoping that they, the media, will get better before it's too late. And here's hoping that it's not too late already. Yeah, it's the media. They're just not doing their job. I don't know what you want them to do differently. They're about as left-leaning as it gets. The American people don't trust them no more. You can look at the polls for the media. They don't trust them no more. Ever since COVID, ever since the lie about how President Biden was healthy as a horse and ready to run again, and they toted that lie for years. And then he had basically died on stage with his first debate with Trump during the election. Basically, no one trusts the media anymore. So it's not that the media is letting us down, Rosie. It's that people don't believe them anymore. So when they start reporting during this administration, no one believes them. It doesn't matter what they say, because no one will listen to them anymore. They've lost all credibility. That's the true problem with the media. So, Rosie, no big loss there. Hope she enjoys Ireland. If she wants to stay, that's fine. Big loss here. You remember during it was during the first Trump election when he ran, and then when he ran the third time and won, all the celebrities, all the media big shots who said they were going to flee the country. And how many actually do flee? Rosie O'Donnell's actually the one who actually did. But there's a bunch of big names that were out there like, if he wins again, I'm leaving. But Rosie actually left. Good for her. Good for her for actually, following through, She said she was going to do something, and she did it. Good for her. But no big loss there. All right, folks, that's all we have today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Like us on Facebook. Please subscribe. Thanks for listening as we grow. Bye. Thank you.